Welcome to our 5 on 5. We're pleased to be joined by Jackson County Commissioner Don Skundrick. Don, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
You bet. Nice to be here, Craig.
Yeah, our pleasure. So tell us, you've been doing town halls of late. Tell us, why did you start doing this?
I have. I appreciate that. It's an outgrowth of last year. I'd committed to get around the communities, all the communities, smaller communities, north, south, east, west, to see what's going on there as opposed to what's just happening in the courthouse.
Sure.
And it was a great experience. In fact, last night I was at Phoenix City Council meeting, but an outgrowth of that, of visiting, I thought, well, you know, to try to expand that a little bit, because at the council meetings, I'm just sitting there listening to what's on the agenda.
Sure.
I'm kind of curious what the citizens had to say. So why don't I do a series of town hall meetings? So I committed this year to do 12. Wow. I'd like to do more. It's something I'd like to continue as long as I'm into office, of where I set up usually at the libraries, because that's a perfect venue.
Yeah. In
the evening, 6:30 to, they usually run to 8:30. A couple of them run a little bit later. I've done 4, and Thursday night in Jacksonville at 6:30 at the library will be my 5th town hall. But last usually I say at 8:30 or 9, and the format is very simple. People can talk to me about anything they want to be. I only have one rule, and that people need to remain civil.
Sure.
We can have discourse, we can disagree, we can do all that if we can do it
be respectful.
in the context of civility. That's my only rule. And so I just say, okay, folks, what's on your mind? What's important to you? And I get a lot of the same global questions, as global as it pertains to Jackson County geographically, about land use issues, budget issues, commissioner salaries, libraries, animal control, those things that are germane to the whole county. But then I also get specific questions about, or statements a lot of times, about what's happening in their local community. My first one was in Shady Cove, and then we did one in Gold Hill, and we did one in Eagle Point, and then the last one was in the Applegate Valley, and then, like I say, this next one's in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So in each one of those, there's usually 1 or 2 things that will come out about. For example, last month in the Applegate Valley, a couple of citizens want to talk about the lack of high-speed internet, connectivity, broadband issues, and such. Something I hadn't really considered.
Sure.
And so we discussed that and how it relates to emergency services, economic development, those sort of things.
Okay, and so you're going to have a new commissioner starting next year.
Correct.
Not to get into who that may be or anything, but how does the dynamic change? There are only 3 of you, and new person's coming in regardless. CW is stepping down. How does the dynamic change with the new commissioner?
That's a great question. When I first was asked to run for this position, I did a little bit of time of vetting out what exactly a county commissioner does. And I'm still learning, quite honestly, after 15, 16, or into my 16th month. But one of the things that intrigued me is there's just 3 commissioners. And the reason why that's intriguing for somebody who comes out of the private sector is in the private sector, you're used to making decisions, not without a lot of thought and due diligence, but decisions that are made quickly and results are followed fairly immediately after that.
Sure.
Government doesn't work that way, and that's not a negative necessarily, but it's just the way with laws the way they are. For example, if we want to enact an ordinance, it takes us at least 3 months, because we've got to have it's set by statute, public meetings before that ordinance becomes codified in the county ordinances. So there's that part. The other part is if in fact a citizen comes to one of the commissioners and they have a complaint, and we listen, our doors are open all the time. You have a working set of county commissioners. So they come, well, in my business experience was, well, let's just take care of it. Let me research it. Let me take care of it. I'll call the department head or whatever, and it's done. Yeah. It doesn't work that way in county government. So you can still do the due diligence. You can research it. You can try to put the process in place. And then many cases, and again, I don't mean this negatively, but we're constrained by state laws of what we can and cannot do. And one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand, Craig, is that county government by definition, are creatures of the state. By the state, I mean the state of Oregon, the state of wherever, whatever state. But that's really, we're just subdivisions of state government. Where I use the terminology, we're the boots on the ground. Now, is that always good? Not necessarily, because many of our laws, even though they're for the whole state, are fairly specific, maybe to the Portland metro area, et cetera.
Sure.
But we can't go outside those. So that's difficult explaining that to a citizen on occasion. Goes say, well, why not? You know, and we have to go through the process of explaining that we are constrained by statute and such. So that's the biggest difference. But
fascinating time.
It is. It's a lot of fun, actually.
I wish we had more time, Commissioner. Great to see you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.